start with the lab. That's the first thing I would like to do today. Then we'll go to the presentation. So we covered until where exactly? Let's see. Okay, we covered the Azure networking concepts, the VPN and the express route, and the DNS. Today we have storage, but before that, let's quickly run through the lab exercise. So is this the one? Yes, configure public access to the virtual machine. Let's see if this is the lab we are referring to. I'm just stopping the sharing to share the full screen instead of the presentation. That's full screen now. I hope you guys do not have any background noise from my end because there's a construction going around my building. I can hear that. If it is not coming reaching to until you guys, then it's good. Okay, which lab is this? This is configuring network access. Okay, before configuring the network access, let's go back one step. Okay, creating a virtual machine. Yesterday, we have seen how to create a virtual machine using the Azure portal GUI interface, the web interface. In this exercise, it shows you how to create the virtual machine, exactly the same thing what we did, but through the command line, Azure CLI. So there are different tools available to interact with Azure platform. Web interface is easily available to everyone. And if you would like to use the command line interface, you got to install relevant tools and the utilities on your machine in order to use that. So here, when you're talking about Azure CLI is available on the portal itself. So in this exercise, what we're doing, you create an Azure virtual machine and install a web server. And as I told you yesterday, this is one of the web server application which runs on Linux environment. You could use Azure Portal, Azure CLI, or Azure Resource ARM template. It's called Azure Resource Manager template. We'll see this later today, what exactly this means. In this instance, you're going to use the Azure CLI. There's an important note here. This exercise creates a VM that is used in a later exercise. That's what we were looking at. So we are creating the virtual machine, installing the web server, and then later on in the next lab, we are making sure that this web server is accessible over the internet. That's what we're going to do. So let's begin with the task one. What are we doing in the task one here? We are creating a resource group, right? Let me use a mouse pointer here so that you know where I'm clicking. This is fine. Okay, creating a virtual machine. So if I'll just walk you through this process, what it is doing. So you're logging into the Azure portal and then select the Azure Cloud Shell icon. I'll show you that. And you launch the Azure CLI on the portal. Create a Linux virtual machine. So we are creating a Linux operating system virtual machine using the CLI and using the command azvm create. So that this creates a Linux VM. And here is the important stuff which you need to understand. So what are we doing here in this process, in this command line? As I mentioned yesterday, while creating any resource on Azure, there are certain parameters which are mandatory, and you should know that in order to automate that process any resource creation or management process. So here, this is the command AZVM create, and these are the parameters we are providing. Resource group. You know what resource group is? We are creating a resource group in this exercise. Okay, you know that for a resource to be created, there has to be a resource group created in advance or while creating the resource itself. So we are creating, as part of this exercise, we are creating a resource group, or it is using the resource group. I'm guessing because here it is not creating the resource group by itself in this commands. So it's just creating the VM with this name my-VM, and it is selecting the size standard DS uh, D2SV5. We'll learn more about the VM sizing later on in the admin series, because what exactly the size means, it's about the capacity of the virtual machine which you're building, number of CPUs it will have, the amount of RAM it is going to utilize, and the storage what it is going to use. So these are different parameters which, when you are deploying a VM in the production environment, it really matters, and you have to understand it. And this is the money factor. So you are spending money here. So the higher the size you go, there are different sizes, different prices based on the resources that size is having. So there are Microsoft has created multiple size VMs which are available for us to utilize. Public IP, here it is assigning a public IP. I'm guessing you know what is the difference between the public IP and the private IP, but I'll explain you again on the whiteboard. Image, what does the image means? This is the operating system image. So like for example, if you're installing a Windows on your machine, you either use a CD, which is now the old fashioned. Nobody uses the CDs anymore. Rather, you use the image file. So ISO image, it is called ISO image, which you can burn on your USB drive or CD drive wherever you want, or you can, if it is about virtual machine, you can directly download the ISO image and attach to the virtual machine which you are trying to build. So here, Microsoft has a huge list of images available on their portal, which you can utilize, whichever OS you require. If you have a custom OS image which you built yourself, you can also utilize that in here. So that is, we are not going in deep technical discussions and and the availability of these options in this series. Just to be precise, I'm just going through these parameters so that you understand what you're doing. Admin username, it is creating a user account with this name. You can give any name and generate SSH keys. Why it is generating the SSH keys? you should uh, you should know that there are two mechanisms you can use to authenticate to the server. If it is a Windows server, you always use username and password. That's the standard way of logging into a Windows server. But if it is a Linux server, you have two options. Either you can use username password, or you can also use SSH keys. We are not going in detail what SSH keys are. This is the way. This is an authentication mechanism you can remember for now, which you can use to log into a server, especially when it is a Linux server. Your VM takes a few moments. Okay, that's what it says here. And then once the VM is ready, what are we going to do? We are going to install NGINX. So these are again the steps for creating the NGINX. So I'm using a command line here, AZVM extension set. So basically what I'm doing is, again, I'm connecting to the virtual machine first. So same resource. See, you see these things are repeating here. You must define where is your VM located, in which resource group, and then you must define the name of the VM and the script which you are going to use. There's a custom script here where you're going to use that. Publisher, this script is published by Azure itself, so it is available in the Azure repository. And this is a version of the script you're going to use. settings. 1 second. Yeah, sorry for that interruption. So you see, these are the parameters we are providing for creating that for installing the NGINX on our virtual machine. Okay, so this explains you what exactly it is doing. This command uses the custom script extension to run a bash script on your VM. So those who are aware of Linux operating system, who knows the fundamentals, bash is one of the way of scripting. Is a scripting way of it's a way of doing the scripting in Linux operating system, you can say. The script is stored on GitHub while the commands run. You can choose to examine the bash script here. So if you want to really go through the script, what it is doing, you can see here. It's a simple bash script wherein you can see what it is doing is it's actually downloading the update from the internet. It's running the update process here, and then it is downloading a specific binary files for the NGINX. So we need to add repo before installing the NGINX. So this is going to download all the relevant files, and then it's going to install the NGINX, and it's going to set this as a web page for your web server. So it's a simple script. You can go through it by yourself when you're running your lab. So let's do this part first, then we'll carry on to the next step. Azure portal. Okay, I'll use another screen for showing you the lab. Back on there. Okay, now it's up to you if you want to follow along with my demo. You can log into your Azure accounts. All the step, the process exactly step by step, because you're still new. If you're still new, there are chances that you might miss a step or two and then end up with the errors on the lab. So it's important that you follow exactly the process what you're having. Now, in this process, if you see, it's first saying, actually, we are creating the resource group as well here. If you see, we have the task one for creating the resource group. So I'll do the same. I'll follow the steps exactly what we have here. This is AZ 900. Microsoft Lab. I hope you guys are able to see the screen and follow the steps, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So now we are going to do the first thing, which is creating the resource group. So I'm logging into the portal, which I have done already. Select the Azure Cloud Shell icon, and this is the Azure Cloud Shell icon. You can see that. If you're not able to see, this is where I'm clicking right now. And this brings up a window in the same page, and it's connecting to the terminal. So this is the command line which is running on the portal itself. And you can see here there's a toggle switch, a switch to bash. So basically you can run the commands either as bash commands or the PowerShell. So you have two options in here. We'll see this again later. This is not the topic which we have to discuss right now. Right now it is running the PowerShell mode. When you see PS as the command line, at the beginning of the command line, it means you're running the PowerShell command line interface. And you can switch to bash interface, which is mostly used for Linux environments. So here, are we going to stay in bash or PowerShell? I think we are going to stay in PowerShell because that's the default uh, prompt we get here. So select the Azure Cloud Shell. In the CLI, we are going to just copy this. But again, you need to understand what we are doing here. AZ group create name of the resource group and the location. We are selecting the region. So this is again an important, these are all important parameters when you're creating the resource group. You have to provide the resource group name and the uh, location where you're going to create it. All right?
Sir, when I
Yes,
clicked on the CLI option, it is saying a user account does not exist in tenant Microsoft service.
user account does not exist.
Yeah.
Did you register for the account, trial account?
Oh yeah, after
I
no,
think you didn't do that.
I just made the account. Yeah, I have to make.
Yes, you have to have a trial account registered. Then we can use that for doing the labs.
Okay.
So I've shared this the link before how to create the process about creating it. So I'll share it again with you after the class. You
Sure.
just follow the
Sure.
process what I'm doing now.
Okay.
So before this, when I click on PowerShell,
Hmm.
it's asking few things like network, virtual network, network profile.
Before what?
Yeah, before I click on this one, I don't have anything created before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's showing some options to select virtual network, network profile and all.
Really? Can you
Can I,
show us?
yeah,
Share the screen?
can you just provide
Yeah, I'll give you
access?
the access 1 second. So we'll see what exactly Ahmed is talking about here. Okay, you should be able to share the screen now.
So if you
Right.
see,
So what happened here?
it's asking like this question.
1 second.
Expand the screen.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me click on this. Go to
Salam.
PowerShell and no
Yeah.
storage required.
And select easy one subscription. Azure, yeah. Select from select easy one Azure no no no.
Wait,
On the
wait,
below
wait, wait.
option.
Okay. Okay. Let
I'm
me let
going
me
to
Apply,
this
apply,
one.
let
apply.
me explain you. Cancel everything. Ahmed, let's go to
Mhm,
the starting point. So you have basically got the trial account with you. Now you're going to run
mhm.
the first exercise. Did you create a virtual machine yesterday?
We deleted that.
Okay. Fine. Let's do that process now. Follow this exercise. No, no, don't
Okay,
do that. Don't do anything from the GUI. You are
okay.
going to create the resource group as well from
Mhm,
your command line interface. Okay, so go to the Cloud Shell.
mhm,
Okay, since this is the first time you're running the Cloud Shell,
mhm.
it's giving you the option to choose whether you want to run your commands in PowerShell mode or Bash mode. So we are going with the PowerShell in this
Yes.
scenario, not Bash,
Mhm,
PowerShell. And here it says select a subscription to get started. So basically, when you're running these commands, this shell requires a storage space where you can run these commands. And if you want to save this commands history, you have to specify your storage account. So here
mhm.
you just select the subscription. We don't need the storage account here. It's just a trial one, right? So no storage account required. Just apply this.
Yeah, it will load now.
We don't have any. Do we have any virtual network created here in this
Not
process?
created it.
I think we have to create a virtual network where let me see the next exercise whether we are creating a virtual network there because that's something which you require.
I think
It's
it's loaded
created.
now.
Sorry?
It's created. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, you got the shell.
Mm.
Okay. I'm just looking into the in the exercise. Just give me a minute.
Mm.
Okay, let's run through the process. Uh, Follow the if you want to do it, you can do it yourself, or you follow it. I'll just show it so that everyone can see,
Okay, sure.
and we can have an explanation as well
You
at
want
the
me to
same time.
show? You want me to follow?
No, I'm sharing from my side.
Okay, okay,
So you just follow from your end.
okay.
So that was different step which you had to do when you're fresh user. So here what I've done is, if you see, we have created an Azure resource group. This is the ID of the resource group. Then this all of these parameters are helpful when you're doing the automation. So it shows you in the location where it created the resource group. This is the name of the group, and this is successfully created. And you can verify that by going to the resource group. You can search in here resource resource group. You better go here. So that's easier. And you can see your resource group created, right? This is the resource group, and this is the location where you have created the resource group. Got it? Now we go to the next step, wherein we are going to create a virtual machine. This is not the one. We are going back to this create virtual machine.
Can you share that link exercise one?
Which one? This one? Yes, I'll do that.
Yeah, can you just paste in the chat so we can?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to put that in the WhatsApp group and as well as in the chat. I'll put it in the Teams chat. Okay, you can follow that. Now I'm going to copy this content for creating the virtual machine. I'm still on the same CLI command line, and here it is going to create the virtual machine. And it will also generate the SSH keys for logging into your virtual machine. So what does it say? It's important to read the messages sometimes, which we, as an IT guys, we always skip and click OK without reading it. So default values of size will be changed to OK for standard in future release. That's fine. That's just a message. SSH key files. So it is going to create, it has created SSH keys in these locations. So in this command line interface, this is the path where your user profile is resides. This is where it has created the SSH keys, and it's a combination of public key and the private key have been generated to allow SSH access to the VM if using machines without permanent storage. Backup your keys. So this is important. See the prompt which you got to create the storage or storage not required, which you selected. It really matters if you want to save this stuff. Like for example, this one. Now this is my command line environment for operating Azure. So I have created this VM and I have got the SSH key created in this profile. The moment I close this shell, I will lose everything whatever I have done here in this session. So if you want to save your command history and save the files which you are working on in this command line console, you should always use one of the storage which you are having on your Azure resources. So we'll see that later how we can choose the storage because we have not created the storage. We have not seen how to create the storage yet. Is that clear? So here,
Excuse me, sir.
yes,
Yeah. In this exercise, we have given the location as East US.
yeah.
Yeah, in my account, if I given as a East US, it's showing the error, sir.
It's showing the error. But are you able
Yeah,
to
then
see
I
others?
gave, I
Hmm.
changed to Asia, then the script running.
Okay,
If I change the location to the East Asia, then it's running, sir. Is it okay? No problem.
that's fine. Wherever it is creating it. See, for now, for this exercise, we just
Yeah,
want this task to be completed. So if it is not working for a specific read this one, what do you say?
location. Yeah,
Location. You can choose another location. That really doesn't matter here
yeah. Okay, sir.
because you're running trial accounts, and I guess even when you're creating those trial accounts and the location which you choose or the billing. Based on the billing location as well, they will assign specific regions for the trial. I guess
Yes, yes, yes.
yes, that
Even creating in the portal for me, East US, it didn't work. Only the
right,
East Asia
right,
is working.
exactly. So that's fine. So that's okay for now. So all you have to see is that the VM is created now. So if you go to our resource group, and you can see it has, as we know that network is the fundamental requirement for creating a resource. It has created the virtual network by the name of the machine itself. So it will create it by itself. But in the enterprises and the corporates, this is not how you create the resource in Azure. You have to plan in advance. You have to create the network and all the fundamental building blocks which are required for running your Azure environment. So it has created a, you can see what all it has created. It has created a virtual machine, and definitely this virtual machine requires a disk to run the operating system, to store the files and run OS from there. And then you have a network security group. This is important. We'll be touching this in the next exercise. Public IP address, which is required if you want to make this VM as a web server, sorry, and accessible over the internet. So that's where you need the public IP address. Network interface, of course, because it's without network interface, it's not going to be on the network, and you can't access even within the Azure virtual network. And this is the virtual network. So these are the resources it has created by itself. So let's go to the next one. Now we got the VM. Now the next step is to install the NGINX on it. So we are just going to copy this and go back to our command shell. So what it is doing, you have a script which is available on GitHub. So Ahmad was asking about the GitHub, right? So this is another GitHub which is available where this is it's a repository. So it is pulling the script from this repository. So we'll see more and more usage of GitHub in the upcoming exercises. For now, what you need to know is that GitHub is an online repository, and where you have different scripts and programs and applications available for you to utilize. Some are public, some are private, and there are many containers available which you can download straight from the GitHub and run those containers on your environment. So if you're looking for a container for NGINX, instead of creating a virtual machine and installing NGINX on top of that operating system in the virtual machine, you can straight away download the container which is built with NGINX in it. So that will be a much simpler way of running your NGINX on Azure platform. So you won't have to create a VM and then install the NGINX on it and then run the web server. So that's the beauty of containers. And here we go. This is done. This was the script which we ran. And now the next step is, okay, this command uses a custom script. Okay, this is done. So it has created these directories wherein it has placed the homepage, the index.html file for the web server. Now we can go to the next exercise. Until now, this VM is created, but it's not accessible over the internet. Network access. Okay, what are we doing in this exercise? The VM for this exercise was created. Yes, we did that. And then now, right now, VM you created and installed NGINX and during the previous exercise. Yes, previous exercise is not accessible from the internet. In this exercise, you will create a network security group. That changes that by allowing HTTP access on port 80. Okay, here it says it is important that you are in the bash version of Cloud Shell for some of the commands in this exercise. So here you get the note. You will see the use of bash command line. So there are commands which are compatible, which works only in bash, mostly for Linux environment and Linux machines. We use the bash as a command line interface, and for Windows and Microsoft products to handle, we can use PowerShell, and it's very powerful in that environment. So let's go to our task now. Task 1, access your web server. So what are we doing here? In this procedure, we get the IP address of your VM and attempt to access your web server's homepage.
Excuse
Okay.
me, sir. Can you share
Yes.
this link in the group so we can also with you?
Sorry, I didn't get.
Can you share this link in the group, sir? So we are also following the same steps what you're doing.
I'm sharing it. You're not able to see it?
No, sir. In the chat box, this link.
I did
Already
just
there,
now.
already there.
Shared.
Yes.
This one is different one, is it, sir?
Is it different? It's exactly
Same.
the same. What you have to do is in the same link, you have this drop down menu.
Okay, sir.
You
Okay.
got me? See here you have exercise one number 1 and exercise number 2. Let me
Okay,
know
sir.
once you are able to see it. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay, sir. Okay.
All right. So I'll just show you something here. This is a virtual machine which we
I'm
created.
using the older link, so I didn't update
That's fine.
it. Now I will.
Not a problem at all. So I'm going to the virtual machine here. And in this virtual machine, you can see what is the IP, public IP it has been assigned. And you can see here, primary NIC public IP address. This is the IP address it has got. So it is assigned automatically when we created the virtual machine, right? So the same thing we are doing here in the task 1. We are trying to figure out what is the public IP address of the virtual machine. So I'm going back to the command line. Sorry, there's something missing here. Could not be loaded. All right. So this is see, it gave you the message, right? Clearly in the beginning that this is the bash. Look at this here. It's a bash command. It's not supported in PowerShell command line. So I'm switching to bash. Okay, this is how the Linux command line looks like with a representation of dollar sign. Okay, so what it has done is it has connected to the list of IP addresses AZVM. What it is doing, look at the command here. So we are looking for the IP address equals IP address of what? Which there might be more than one VM on your subscription on your source group running. So we are specifying AZVM list IP addresses in this resource group, and this is the name of the VM for which I need the IP address. So it has got the IP address and it has stored that IP address in the file called output here. Okay, so it's in the command line environment. It is saved. Now, what do we do? Run the following curl command to download the home page. So let's do that. Curl What is the curl command? Does anyone know? What is this command? Does anyone did anyone use it before? So it's like command line browser. What it is like a command line browser basically. So for example, like we are accessing our web services through the web interface, right? The browser, internet browser, either Chrome, Mozilla, or what do you say, the Edge from Microsoft. Similarly, curl is used for accessing the web pages through the command line. So this is helpful in troubleshooting scenarios. So this is what we are going to do. So what it is doing is trying to connect, okay, to the IP address. Which IP address? It has already got the IP address of a VM, which is the public IP, and it is accessible over the internet. So that's what it is trying to do, and it is not accessible because that's how it should be. We have not allowed access to anyone to access this service over the internet. So connection timeout argument specifies to allow up to 5 seconds for the connection to occur. So it will try for the 5 seconds, after which it will expire. The connection will time out. Okay, so that is the output we have got. And then here, what we are doing is, as an optional step, try to access the web server from a browser. Run the following command. Now we need to know the IP address. We know we can go to this VM directly and see the IP address, but from the command line, I need to find out what is the public IP address. So this is what it is assigned to our VM. See, 52 starting with 52 and ending with 209. So just compare it here. This is what it is, right? So this is the public IP which is assigned to my virtual machine. So whatever commands I've run to test that IP accessibility over the internet. Now I know my IP address. What I will do is next, I will go and type this IP address in the browser to see if my web server is accessible. And it will time out because we have not allowed access to this web server over the internet yet. Okay, so here what we are going to do is now, your web server was not accessible. To find out why, let's examine your current NSG. This is important to remember. NSG is nothing but network security group. So network security group will discuss in detail later on. For now, just remember that it is it's a rule. It's like a access control list, which allows access to a particular server or service over the internet, or even within the same network. So before running this through, I'll explain you how it really looks in the whiteboard. Let me go back to the whiteboard here. I'll share another screen. Now, these are the things which you have to understand while you're doing the labs. It's very easy to copy paste the commands and see the results and be happy. But if you really don't know what's going in the background, you will not understand at the end what's happening. So let me know if you're able to see the screen, the whiteboard. So you will not see it yet. I'm not sharing it.
Not
One
seen.
second. No, I'm not sharing it.
Yes.
Now it should be visible. Okay, so what have we done so far? We are on Azure portal. Okay, so we have created resource group, which is nothing but a container. In this resource group, what we have done, we have created a virtual machine, right? So that virtual machine created something called a virtual network. which is the fundamental requirement for a virtual machine, right? So this network, what is the network IP address? The IP range, it will create the IP range also by itself. So if I bring this here. So now look at the resources which we have got with the help of this virtual machine created. So I'm going to resource group, this one which we created, and in this we have got a virtual machine and a virtual network. So this is the important part here, important component, and you can see it has assigned this address space here, right? Just bear with me because I'm not very familiar with this whiteboard. Okay, so how do I move this? One second. Sorry, my screen just and it seems. Give me a minute. Okay, so just understand this, what I'm trying to explain. It has created a virtual network, right, with this IP range. And if you also see, it will create the subnet also within. So if you see in this virtual network, it has created one subnet by default. And what is the IP address of the subnet? The IP range, you can see this has got this range. So that's the subnet it created. So by default, when you create a VM, as I told you, it will create the virtual network. Okay, so within this network, it has created a subnet 10.0. What is IP? Okay, 0.0/24. What does it mean? That means in this subnet, I can have, if you see here, 250 available IPs. That means I can assign the IP addresses 250 IPs to all the virtual machines which I create under this. So this is my virtual network. This one is the virtual network range, the bigger range, which you always have to choose very carefully when you're building your Azure environment. And this is the subnetwork. So in that I have created a subnetwork with this range, and the IP address is this. You can assign 250 IPs. So in this virtual network, I've got a subnet. I can create multiple subnets, and by default, it creates a subnet called default. The name of the subnet itself is default. You can change this as well. So that's the default subnet which is created here, which you see here. And within that subnet, my actually the virtual machine is not placed inside the subnet. Just imagine that there is a virtual machine which is part of this network. So now if you go back to this here, now you want to figure out what is the IP assigned to my virtual machine. There must be an IP also assigned to it. Internal IP address, the private IP address. So here we see, we'll go back to the virtual machine. Resources, resource groups, resource. Okay, we know this is the public IP address assigned to it, and there has to be a private IP as well. And you can see this is the private IP assigned to that particular VM 10.0.0.0.4. So it has got the IP address 10.0.0.4. This is the IP address which is assigned to my particular virtual machine. Now, if I build another VM in the same subnet, it will be assigned an IP address next to this IP 10.0.0.5. So that every VM which you create, which you associate with this subnet, they'll be assigned the IP address automatically from this range, which you see here, and they can communicate to each other over the network. You can share the files, you can share the resources and the services. Now, but this is all within the Azure portal, and these are all private IP addresses. This is the private IP range.
It means so we can create 250 VMs under this subnet, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
You can, I mean, you can assign these number of IP addresses. It can be, you can even assign multiple IPs to one VM. So it's all up to you. So you have one big network created, and you should see on the internet if you put 10 this range, how many networks subnets you can create within it, and how many hosts you can have assign the IP addresses. So this really comes down to this. It's a very big network when you say the very big IP range, and you should now, in order to understand all of this, you should at least understand the basics of IP addressing. And I have shared the video with Sujini, I guess, and I'll share some more videos because this is fundamental. This is very basic, which you need to understand. So here, just remember, and you also need to know what is the difference between the private IP and the public IP. So this IP range is private. That means, just in simple terms, the private IP addresses are not accessible over the internet. So though this machine has IP address, you can't use this IP address to access this machine over the internet. It will not be accessible. So for public accessible services, you have to use something called public IP address. So the name itself means that it is publicly available and it will be unique. That means no two servers will have the same public IP address over the internet, right? So for example, if you're having you have different mechanisms to make it available. I'll show you google.com. So this is the domain name which you can for which you can have different public IP addresses assigned. But again, each public IP will be unique. So when people access this service through DNS through the name, it can resolve to one of this public IP, and the site will be available if in case of any uh, problem on the servers. So servers will have the public IP addresses assigned. So here, let's make it simple again, which is specific to this exercise. So I'm just explaining you what we have done so far. Let's focus on that. Let's not get into this deep discussions because we'll deviate and it will be difficult to come back to the subject and finish our fundamentals. So this is, in essence, this is what we have done. I'm just trying to show you what you have done on Azure, what happened in the background with the exercise which you have carried out. So you created a resource group, you created a virtual network within the resource group, and that virtual network has got the IP range assigned, this IP range which I've shown you. And within that virtual network, it has created a subnet, a default subnet. And in that, a VM is created and it is assigned an IP address of this 10.0.0.0.4. So this is the private IP. Now this is all happening on the cloud, right? This is the cloud. This is the Azure cloud. Whatever you're doing here, it's all happening on the cloud. So now, does it make sense for you to create a virtual machine, install the web server, and leave it there for nothing? No, there is a purpose of creating this virtual machine. I want to installing. There's a purpose of having the web server installed on it. I want to host my website, and it should be available to everyone over the internet. Right now, this is what we are trying to make sure. So this is just a simple internet user, and you tell him that, okay, I have built my website. You can access it with this name abc.com, and when this user accesses this name, you know what will happen? DNS will kick in, DNS will do the name resolution, and it will see that, okay, this website has the IP address assigned, same IP what we have got here, let's say. Although we are not going to look at DNS right now in this exercise. So I got this IP address. So your DNS will return this IP to this user. Okay, that was simple paste. Okay, so this is the IP it will give to the user. So okay, this IP when it's on the internet knows it. This is internet is nothing but a network of networks, right? It's a big network. So when this request goes over the internet, it knows where it is located. So it will reach here to your Azure. Okay. So now what will happen? Since we have the private IP assigned, we also have associated a public IP to it, which is this 52. That's the public IP which we have bind it with the virtual machine. But we have not opened the doors. We have not opened the doors to anyone come in and access the service. That's where the network security comes in. So network security is a function which controls access to your services or the applications over the internet, right? And that name goes by it. It's called network security group. So when you created a virtual machine, it also created something called network security group. So again, going back to the resource group, this is a resource group. So it's created by default. You have not done anything for it. So it created a virtual machine. It created a disk. It created network security group, which you see here. So it's a prevention mechanism which prevents access to your services over the internet. So you can see there are a set of rules here, inbound security rules and outbound security rules, right? So inbound security rules, now your web server, it runs on port 80, which is nothing but HTTP protocol. So you're not allowing port 80 to be available over the internet here. See, what you're doing is you're just allowing the port 22 to be allowed over the internet. And why is that required? Why is the port 22 required? Anyone? I think you're able to unmute yourself, right?
Yes.
We have the senior people here in the group. Ahmad, why is the port 22 used and required here?
For SSH.
For SSH? Yes, but in this scenario, where it will be used?
Mm,
It will be used to access your virtual machine over the internet,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Now
Yes.
you're accessing your virtual machine through Azure portal, but you're limited with only the configuration part. You're not accessing the OS itself, right? You can see
Yes.
your VM, you can see all the parameters of your virtual machine, you can see what IP it is assigned and everything. Now, how do you log into the server? I told you if it is okay. Let me go back to this scenario again. So if it is a Windows server, let me move this a little bit. If it is a Windows server, we use a very well-known protocol called RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol,
remote
and it works on 3389.
3389. Yes, 33.
Okay, and if it is a Linux server, you access Linux server with SSH protocol, and that works on port 22. So you have built the virtual machine, but in order to you log into the server and do the configuration, you have to log into it, right? So if it is in the cloud, now you don't have any other machine created in the cloud from where you can log into this. Okay, you just have one virtual machine created. How will you configure it? You have to have access it somehow, right? So by default, what it did when it created this virtual machine, it has created a rule to allow access on port 22 on this public IP address, right? So that you can access that virtual machine over the internet, isn't it? Is that clear?
So we can do RDP to a Linux machine also?
No RDP, only SSH.
SSH, okay.
RDP doesn't work. That's what I have explained,
Okay.
right? If it is a Windows server, you have to use RDP protocol
RDP.
to access the server. If it is a Linux machine, you have to use SSH. Now, there are many tools available for SSH. Let me see if I have any tool. There's one famous tool called
Putty.
Putty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Putty. Okay.
Let's try to access that server. Let me download it. I don't have it, I think. This is, you can call it as a SSH client. Okay. I'm going very slow here, explaining you all the bits and pieces. Otherwise, this lab, you just run through it and finish it. But you need to understand what exactly you're doing and how these things are working. So let me install this software quickly. Okay, got it installed. What I can do is I can use the putty and I can give that public IP address here. What's my public IP address? This is my public IP and the port number 22. Can it work? Will it work here? Yes. It will prompt you to accept the key. This is the SSH login. Now, what is the user and password? Did we set any user and password while creating the VM? Guys, the question is to you. Just say yes or no.
No.
We didn't create username
didn't
and
create,
password on this, yeah.
Right? So,
But we have to download that SSH key, sir.
yes, exactly. So, as I explained you, there are two ways you can authenticate to a Linux server. In Windows, it is just one way, that's username and password. But if it is a Linux machine, you have an option to use username password, or you can use the keys, SSH keys, right? While creating the VM, I explained you. So now, how do we get those keys? Where are those keys stored? Those keys are stored in the Cloud Shell, right? While creating the VM, it gave us the location where it is stored. So we're not getting into that right now. Let's stop it here. But I'm just showing you that you can access your VM through port 22. It's open, it's accessible, but port 80 is not accessible, right? Because we don't have the firewall rule, which is network security group rule, which is allowing that communication. So remember that. Just stick to that for now, because otherwise it will be a tool in the lab, and we won't be able to finish the other things. So now what we're doing, I just gave you the explanation so that you understand what we're doing here. So port 22 is open, but for this user will not be using the port 22 to access the web service, right? By default, this web server service runs on port 80 if it is an unsecure website, or 443 if it is a secure website. So user will be accessing it with http://www.abc.com, or he'll be using HTTPS. And nowadays almost 90%, 99% of sites are HTTPS for the security reasons, right? So here we have built just a simple web server on this machine running NGINX. Okay, and it's running basically only the HTTP site. Okay, now we have to make sure that it is available and accessible over internet. So what I have to do is I have to create a rule which allows this communication over port 80. So again, you can see that the networking concepts are very important, and you have to understand, at least you should have the understanding. So we have seen this one. This rule is already there, which is allowing port 22 to be accessible over the internet so that you can access and manage your server. So let's continue with this. So what we are going to do now, Where were we? Okay, we stopped here, right? We were not able to access the web server over HTTP. So list the current network security group rules. So what are the group rules we have? So the whole network is protected with the VNet. This complete VNet is protected with the help of network security group. That means it decides what connections can come in and go out from this particular network. So let's look at this one first. Just going to bring this here so that you see what I'm telling you. Go back to the Cloud Shell. Where is it? Yeah. Okay. So let's run this command. Now we are in the bash mode already. The $sign tells you that we are in the bash. And I'm running the rule over the command here. What is the command? Are you able to see the screen? AZ network
Yes.
NSD NSD, nothing but a network security group list. We are just listing to see what rules are actually available to allow the communication to my virtual machine. So it has created this list and it has saved that list in the file, TSP file in the Cloud Shell. Let's go back. Okay, that we have done that part. Output will be my NSG. It has created this file, right? Yes, it has created this file where it has stored the details of that rule. Now run the following command to list the rules associated. So from that file, we'll know what are the firewall rules, the network security rules are implemented. So it gives you in this format. It shows you that, okay, there's a access rule which is allowing the port 22 access, which we have just now tested with PuTTY. We are able to access our server over port 22, right? And there's one more rule which says, no, this is a single rule, actually. We'll go in detail about it. So this is important. You're allowing the particular access to your virtual machine. Now, what we have to do next? Okay, so now we know that there is a network security group and there is a rule allowed. Run the NSG rule list command second time. This time use the query to retrieve only the name priority affected ports. Okay, let's run this. Okay, so it shows you this in the simple format. The name of the network security group rule, the priority, we'll understand the priority later on. The port it is allowing the connection to port 22. So simple way of looking at it, I've shown you. You can go straight away to your network security group from the GUI as well. Go to the resource group, which is the resource group. You can go to the resource group or you can go to the network security group directly. And you can see the commands and the rules which are there. So this is allowing the communication. Okay. Let's go next. Okay, by default, Linux NSG allows network access only on port 22. This port enables administrators to access the system. You need to also allow inbound connection to port 80. So the exercise is very well prepared. It explains you what exactly you're doing, but again, unless you understand what is network, what is a virtual network, what is subnet, and what is a public IP and the private IP, it will be a little difficult for you to understand what it is, the exercise itself. Create the network security rule. Now, what we are doing here, you create a network security rule that allows inbound access on port 80, which is HTTP access. Right? Let's do this now. AZ network NSG rule create. This is what we're doing. Where we are creating this rule in the resource group, and for this network security group, and what are we doing? Allowing HTTP protocol TCP priority. We'll learn about priority later. It's not important here. This is important. the connection protocol, the port number which you are allowing is port 80 and access is allowed. So let's go back to our shell on this. Okay, that's done. Let's look at our rules again now. Now you can see we are allowing port 80 to be accessible over internet, right? I'm going back to this exercise to verify the configuration. We have done that already. We verified and we see that port 80 is now allowed. And now access your web server. So how do you access your web server? Again, you can use the curl command if you're doing it from the command line. I'm not sure if it works on Windows. You need a utility, curl utility to do that. Let me see. And we don't know the IP address. This you can do when you're running it on Cloud Shell. Here I need the IP address. So I'll go to this for public IP, the virtual machine. Really slow. Which is my VM here, my VM. And that's my public IP address. It's not doing it. Okay, let me type it quickly. 5224, 5224, 164, 209. Okay, as I told you, curl is a utility which is used to access the website over the command line. So now if you browse this website, you'll see the same content. Let's browse this website. Okay, got it? That's your exercise complete. Any doubts here? I want you to do it yourself so that you understand what you're doing, right? And here I'll just take a 2 minutes break. I'll be back with you. By the time you can probably run this exercise and see what result you get. Okay, guys?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, guys, I'm back. Let's continue. Anyone has any doubts on this exercise, what we did? Okay, let's uh, give you one more scenario. Now, in this scenario, we are using Azure as a platform, and it's very easy that you build your VM and make it available to the internet. If you have to do the same thing yourself on your own data center, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of components to manage. So network, just understand that the network security group is acting as a firewall in this scenario. Okay, there is a network security component called firewall. So if you are having your on-prem data center, why it is bothering me? Okay, on-prem DC. If you have to build your server, own web server, and make it available to the internet, you would require, uh, first of all, you need a very good internet connectivity. Okay, which basically you should have a public IP address, and you should know that is also cost, and it's very costly to get a public IP from your ISP, internet service provider. A fixed public IP address, it's a costly IP. Otherwise, when you're using internet over at your home or in your phone through the data connections, you're getting the public IPs, but those are dynamic IPs that those keeps changing, and it doesn't really matter for you and me if it changes. But if you are hosting a web server and you want to do it on your own data center, you have to have a public IP address, and it has to be static. That means it always remain the same. It has to be a static fixed IP address. And you need to also deploy something called firewall in order to prevent connectivity from internet. Now, this internet user can be a normal user or it can be a hacker, right? Who is trying to access your web server over the internet. And it's since this is a public, since it is a website and it is open to all, it will be accessible to everyone, good and bad people, all of them, right? So you would need a firewall. You would need the public IP address. You will have to build your server and do a lot of configuration. And there's also something called NAT. There will be a private IP assigned to your server internally, and on the firewall you also do multiple things on the firewall. You can do NATing. It's called network address translation. You can build the access control list. And these days, firewalls do a lot more things than these two basic functions. So netting, what does netting do here? Since you see in your cloud environment, there is a private IP assigned to this VM, and there is a public IP also assigned to this VM, right? Now, how do you relate these two? That function is something called NAT. So it maps your public IP to private IP. Okay, so this is what the NAT does. And access control is it basically allows or denies the connection based on the rules which you created. So the rules which we have in our scenario for a VM which we created on Azure, we have one rule which is by default created on port 22 to allow the administration access to admins, and we have also created manually port 80. This is for SSH. This is for HTTP. For access website access for all the users. In essence, this is what we have done on Azure. I hope that is clear. Can we move on with the slides? We have a lot of slides to
Okay.
complete. Yes, any doubt, anything you can ask related to this scenario, what we have done, the exercise, what we have done. So when you're doing the exercise, it's not just important, as I told you, to run through the steps, but you should understand what exactly is happening in the background. That's why I have given you this lengthy explanation on this simple exercise. So you definitely have to have the knowledge now. The whatever you see is something new for you in this explanation. Public IP, private IP, natting, firewall. You have to do a little bit of research yourself, because this course does not go in detail on the networking concepts and the fundamentals. I hope that is
Excuse me,
clear.
sir.
Yes.
In this exercise, we did it through the networking energy rules, sir. But we
Yes.
didn't do through NGINX, is it, sir?
I didn't understand. We didn't do
Installing last exercise one, in that we create NGINX install, like that the message that was there.
right.
Yeah, we did in that NGINX. We have to install in the PowerShell also, sir. That one also we can get the output the same one, or this two is different.
No, I didn't understand what you're saying.
Um,
See, I'll,
yes,
I'll,
sir. In this creating a
this
virtual
you,
machine.
yes,
In
let me
that,
go to that.
yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. My machine is a little bit slow. Okay. So in this one,
Yeah, web server we are installing through NGINX.
yeah.
Yes, sir. But we didn't do this exercise, is it, sir?
Yes. In this one, we just installed we created a virtual machine and we installed NGINX. That's it.
Yes, sir.
We didn't do anything more than that, because this
But
exercise was just,
through the
yes.
yes, NGINX, if we go, we can also get the same result in the web server, sir. Now what we did in the networking. This both are
No,
same.
no, this is not same.
Okay,
See,
sir.
this exercise, what you're doing here,
We're
if I go
creating the
back,
virtual
okay, I'll
machine.
go back to the whiteboard. Okay, the exercise one, what you have done,
Okay, sir.
you created this one, virtual machine,
Virtual
and
machine
you installed
network.
the NGINX. You did these
Yes,
two
sir.
things. Okay, you did step one, step two.
When I was creating this NGINX, I got an error, sir, in this exercise.
Okay, we'll look
Yeah.
into that.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir. Okay.
So I'll maybe
But
after the
the one you have we created in the networking side, I got the output, sir. In that
okay,
task.
that's good. So
Yeah.
I'm just explaining you, these two are different exercises what we did. In the exercise one, we did task one and task two. Task one was creating the virtual machine itself, what you see here.
Yes,
Task
sir.
two was installing the NGINX on top of that
NGINX.
virtual machine. Now, along with these two tasks, this is created, virtual network is created. First of all, it creates the resource group.
Resources group,
Then it
virtual
creates the virtual
machine.
network, and it creates the subnet, default subnet. It assigns the private IP, it assigns the public IP. It has done all of that along with creating a virtual machine. You understood?
Yes,
In
sir.
the second exercise, what we did was allowing this communication. So we created the network security group.
Yeah, NSG.
Yes, we just created this network security group rule to allow accessing our web server from internet. That's
Okay,
what we
sir.
did.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay, then we'll carry on. So that was a very lengthy exercise, actually. But I hope it was helpful and it was understandable. Let's go on, cover the storage part. In the storage, in Azure, we have multiple options again. Is my recording still on? Let me see. Yeah, recording is going on. Okay. these are few things which you have to remember. Storage account must have a globally unique name, because whatever storage account you create, the name has to be unique around the world. If the name is already utilized or used by anyone, you can't use that name. You have to change your name. The storage, while creating the storage, you will see you have to assign a name. Like you're creating a virtual machine, you're assigning a name, right? But that virtual machine name doesn't have to be unique. In your network, you're creating within your network, it has to be unique, but not throughout the internet, throughout the cloud. Provide over the internet access worldwide. So you can provide access to your storage over the internet, just like you're providing access to your web server running on a virtual machine. Determine storage services and redundancy options. This is what we'll discuss. So when you're creating a storage account, and again, as I told you, there is different terminology used by different cloud service providers. You have in AWS, I told you what it is called. What is the storage account called in AWS? I have told you many times. I hope you remember that. Anyone? You don't remember? Okay, I'll give you the name. S3 bucket. It is called S3 bucket. Nothing but a storage account in AWS web services. Is my voice clear to everyone? You're able to
Yes,
hear
yes,
properly? Okay. Now, when you're creating a storage account, you have different options. Locally redundant storage, and it gives you the explanation why it is called LRS. Single data center in the primary region. So when you're creating the storage account, you have to select the redundancy configuration for the storage account. And that goes by, again, how will you decide one of these? When you go on the level up, like for example, this is locally redundant. That means if the data center, single data center in the primary region, it will be in just one data center. If that data center goes down, if it is completely destroyed or wiped out due to whatever disaster happens, your data will be lost. It will not be available uh, to be accessible over internet. You have another level of redundancy for storage, which is zone redundant storage. Zone redundant storage, 3 availability zones in the primary region. Okay, zone redundant storage, 3 availability zones. That means your data is available in 3 different data centers in one particular region. And geo redundant storage, that means single data center in the primary region. You will have your data in your primary region in a single data center, and a copy of it will be available in the different region. Geo zone redundant storage, 3 availability zones in the primary region and a single data center in the secondary region. So now this comes down to durability. I mean, that means basically, what does it mean? 11 nines, you see here, 12 nines, 16 nines, and 16 nines. So we'll see here what exactly that means. Durability means how safe your data is from loss in Azure storage. It's measured in nines, which shows how likely your data will remain intact and not be lost over a year. Here it means practically 11 nines means 99 point the nines which you count, 11 nines here. And 12 nines or 16 nines, even stronger protection, more copies stored across data centers. So this is about the availability of your data, which will be stored in different data centers. So while creating your storage account, you have to use one of the following option. But again, the cost varies. Definitely, when you go for more number of copies of your data, it will be more costlier to store your data for that storage account. So it really comes down to your need, your business need, and the requirement. How many copies you have to maintain, and how many you can afford to maintain. Now in storage, you have different services available. Like in the compute, we have different compute options, right? So what are the compute options we had? If you remember, I'll just go back to the compute options. We have that. Then the compute in Azure compute options, we have virtual machines. We can create the virtual machines. We can create the virtual desktop, or we can create the containers. Similarly, when it comes to storage and when it comes to network, we can create virtual networks, VNets. We can have site-to-site connectivity with the IPsec tunnel or express route. And then in the storage, you have these different services available in the storage account. Now, each one of these is used for a different purpose. Azure Blob Storage, uh, what does the blob means? I'll tell you exactly what it means here. So it's a simple storage. Actually, blob means it's a regular storage which you use for storing your data, for storing your files, video files, audio files, or you name it, whatever unstructured data you can say. And then you have Azure Disk. What does the blob means? Does anyone know blob? BLOB. Binary large objects. It says binary large objects. It refers to the video files, audio files, and any unstructured data which you store on the storage. So that's how Microsoft names it. So this is a most widely and commonly used Azure storage service. So when you're creating the storage for your Azure environment, most likely you'll be creating the Azure Blob Storage. The Azure Disk, what is the disk? Provides disk for virtual machines, applications, and other services to access and use. Now, when you create a virtual machine, it creates a virtual disk also with it, right? Now, what if you need the additional disk for your VM? For example, if I'm going back to my white screen again. Okay, I hope it is visible, right? So let's understand what are the storage options we have. So when you're creating the storage account, you have options for creating the storage account as blob, which is a very common type of storage account you will create on Azure. Then you have Azure Disk. Now, when do you need this Azure Disk? When you're creating a virtual machine on Azure, like for example, we created our VM, my VM. Now, this is running the operating system, and in this we also install NGINX. Do you think it has a disk or not? Does this VM have a disk assigned to it, created with it or not? It's a question to everyone. Yes or no? Are you guys still awake?
Yes.
I just need one word answer, yes or no. It will definitely have a virtual disk assigned to it, right? Without the hard disk, you will not be able to install the OS and you will not be able to install run any other applications on it. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So if I go back to our Azure portal, I'll show you. All right. So let me go back to this. So I have my source group. You see here, there's a disk created. Why it is created? It is created for this virtual machine which we are running. And that disk is only for the operating system. When you log in, you can see that there is only one drive assigned to it. If it is a Windows operating system, you can see C drive, right? That will be the operating system disk, and the space of this disk is 30 GB. So how did it decide this storage the disk size? It is actually based on the type of the VM which you are selecting while creating the size of the VM basically. So the moment this disk space will vary from one VM size to the other VM size. So now this is OS disk. That's fine. I need additional disk where I can install the applications and store my files. So in that case, you have to create your own virtual disk, which you're seeing in the slides. So we'll see that later. We don't have that exercise right now. I'm going to share the screen again from the presentations. So you can create the virtual disk and assign to your virtual machines or even use it for other services. Azure Queue, you can create a storage service called Azure Queue. This is mostly used for application development. In application, you will be using message store service that provides storage and retrieval of large messages. So I don't have an example right now available to give you on this. We'll carry on. I will show you that later. But you just need to know that there are different type of storage services you can use create on top of Azure storage, and there is Azure files. What does it mean? Set up a highly available network file share that can be accessed by using server message block protocol. So if you're having a network, and let's go back to a traditional network. I'm going to share the screen again from other side. Okay, I hope you know what is the network share is. What does the network share means, right? If you are having your own network, own office wherein you have your own servers, you have your server which will be a domain controller. You have your server which will be a DNS or DHCP server, and there are many infrastructure related services running on your network. You will also have a file server, isn't it? You will have a server role called file server where you will store all the files for all the users. It will be shared. So this might be attached with the storage, a storage unit, which will have, let's say, 1 terabyte of disk space, and you'll be sharing the space with the help of network share. So this server name is, let's say, server 1, SRV1. On this network, on this server, you will create a network share called data, for example. So this network share will be available for your users to share the data. So how do they access it? They go to the command line or the browser, the Explorer, and they type server 1 and data, and there they can see and share the files with other users on the network. Or you store your important project files or any corporate related files, not your personal data, of course, because this is a file server which is used for your company, used by your organization to store the official files. So the way you can create this in your traditional on-prem network, you can do the same on Azure Virtual Network. Sorry, the Azure platform. You can create a storage account with a similar network path, and you can provide it to the users so that they can store the data. So that there in that scenario, it uses a protocol called SMB, server message block. This is what it is telling you here. Set up a high available network file share that can be accessed by using the server message block protocol. So that's very common in Windows environments. Azure Tables. This is another type of storage you can create, and this is mainly for non-SQL databases. So again, this is very specific for application developers when they are developing the application. Either they have to use the structured uh, SQL database, structured query language database, wherein the you store the relational data in it. Here, this is called NoSQL database, so kind of scenario. So you will see this again mostly used by the developers. So in these storage types, Azure Queue, Azure Tables, it will be mostly used by the developers when they're building the applications, and they'll definitely they understand uh, how to make use of this type of storage services in their application architecture. So we'll not go in detail in this here. I've given some use cases as well here. Just for your reading, I'll share the slides later on. And then we have something called storage service public endpoints. So for each type of storage, this can be available over the internet. And when you're creating the storage, as I told you, the name of the storage which you choose has to be unique. That means if there's someone is already using a name my storage, so that you can't use the same for assigning to your storage account. So it will be accessible. These are the endpoints, public endpoints. That means the moment you create the storage on Azure, it will be accessible with the help of this URL. You can access that and use that storage service. Azure storage access tiers. There are different level of storage available from Microsoft again, from Azure. You have hot storage, cold storage, and archive storage. So this really depends on the data which you're storing and accessing in your storage. So hot storage is the real-time accessible data which you access on daily basis, optimized for storing data that is accessed frequently. And cool storage is optimized for storing data that is infrequently accessed and stored for at least 30 days. So the data which you very rarely access, you will be storing that, because here again it really comes down to the cost of your storage. So while you're creating the storage, you have to choose what kind of tier you want for your storage, because if you're using it for only keeping the backups, the data which you don't access frequently. So you can go for the archive storage tier, which will be costing you definitely lesser than the hot storage. So this goes by the type of data you're storing. If it is not, if it is accessible, some organizations have compliance requirement wherein they have to maintain and store the data for certain number of days. So this option is for the audit purpose and for compliance regulation purpose. So this is the best fit for them. They can just create a storage tier archive and dump the data and leave it and forget about it. So it will be accessible only on your demand when you need it to be accessed. So we come down to again another storage exercise. We'll do this at the end of the session. Okay, let's go through the slides here. Azure Migrate. Azure Migrate is nothing but a tool which Azure provides for your migration. Now, when do we use the migration tool? It's a unified migration platform, and it has many tools within that platform. Now, tell me when would you use the Azure Migrate tool set? Which scenarios you will require it?
In a hybrid,
In hybrid environment, yes. One of the scenarios I was explaining yesterday, right? Lift and shift scenario, wherein you want to migrate your workloads. When I say workload, it's nothing but a virtual machine running on your on-prem data center. Now you want to migrate that to cloud. You have taken a public cloud service, you have taken infrastructure as a service, and you want to migrate the servers and applications and data to the cloud. So in that scenario, you will make use of Azure Migrate. This is a tool which is created by Azure, Microsoft itself. So you can make use of that. So here, as I told you again, I'm reminding this is a fundamental series. Microsoft is just trying to give you the idea on what products and services they are offering in Azure Cloud and what are the tools available for you to manage and migrate your services to the Azure. So just very high level. We are not going deep down and see how we migrate the servers or virtual machine or application from on-prem to the Azure cloud. So that is one of the tool you have to remember for your exam. There's a tool called Azure Migrate, which you can use for migration. Then you also have something called Azure Data Box. Now, what does it do? Azure Data Box is it stores up to 80 terabytes of data. That's a huge capacity. And move your disaster recovery backups to Azure. You can use this for transferring your data to Azure. Now, 80 terabyte is not a small data size. It's very huge. And if you want to transfer that big data over the internet, connectivity, even if it is a high speed connectivity, it will take days and months to transfer the data, depending on the availability of your connection type what you are having. So you can use this. This is the offline mechanism. It's not you're not transferring the data to Azure over the internet. You're using an offline mechanism to transfer your data to Azure data center. Okay, so protects your data in the run case during transit. So you see this. They have a protective containers in which they carry the data, and this disk what which is containing the data, your data basically. Migrate data out of Azure for compliance or regulatory needs. So the same thing is used if let's say you already have all your data stored in Azure and you want to have a copy of all the data which is there in Azure. Now there are two options. Either you download. If you're downloading, there'll be a cost again for data transfer from Azure to your on-prem, or and it will be slower, or you can request Azure with this service, Azure Data Box. So Azure will dump your data from Azure platform to that disk, and they will ship that disk to you. Migrate data to Azure from remote locations with limited or no connectivity. This is where exactly you will be utilizing it. So if you're migrating, if your data from your remote locations where there is a limited internet connectivity, you have a very less bandwidth, you don't have a fast connections, you can use Azure Data Box. This is again a cost. It's a service from Microsoft. You can request them if you are migrating your complete data from on-prem to Azure cloud. And additionally, there are some other tools, file management tools, which you can use in terms of migration. AZ copy, command line utility, copy blobs or files to or from your storage account. Okay, one-way direction synchronization. That means you can copy your data from your on-prem data center using this command line tool to Azure or vice versa. Azure Storage Explorer, it's similar to what you use here. Like for example, here I'm using this is a Windows Explorer, right? So I can explore the disk. I can explore the different folders and files. Similarly, Microsoft gives you a utility which you can install on your machine to access and see the storage, explore the storage on which you created on Azure. So graphical user interface similar to Windows Explorer, exactly what I've said you, compatible with Windows, Mac, and Linux operating systems. Uses AZ copy to handle file operations. So this tool again uses this AZ copy in the background for copying and copying operations. Azure File Sync synchronizes Azure and on-premises files in a bidirectional manner. Cloud tiering keeps frequent access files local while freeing up the space. This is again it's a kind of if you have used OneDrive from Microsoft or a Dropbox, this is a similar functionality. For example, I'll show you here on my desktop. I have these folders. Okay, these folders, the actual data is stored in the cloud, but I have a copy of it. So whenever I do any change, make any changes, this keeps getting synchronized to my OneDrive. So the same thing here it happens with this tool, Azure File Sync. And here comes another important topic: identity, access, and security. right?
Azure
So
file sync is different and OneDrive is different, correct?
it's different. Here it
Okay.
is different.
Yeah,
OneDrive
features are same.
is for end users.
End user,
Azure
yeah.
File Sync, you can use it for synchronizing your file servers, file shares from your corporate network to the Azure platform.
Oh, corporate number to the platform.
Yeah. Shall we carry on? Any doubts, any questions, or you want a break? Quick break. I think we'll be breaking for prayer. We'll be taking a half an hour break from 12:15 till 12:45 anyway. So let's. Do you want me to continue or run the exercise here? We can probably complete the exercise. What do you suggest? Shall we create a storage account?
Yes, you'll create a storage account.
All right. Let's go back to my other screen. Okay, we can do that here. Okay, so let's do the exercise. The exercise name. Just 1 minute. I'm logging into my Azure portal again. Does anyone have plans to attempt the exam AZ 900 in the group? If you are planning for other certifications like admin and architect, AZ fundamental AZ 900, which is the Azure fundamental exam, is optional. It's not mandatory that you have to do this exam and then do the next one. But if you want to plan, if you're planning for architect level exam, then you must do the admin exam first. That's a dependency.
In order to do admin, I don't have to do fundamentals.
No, you don't need. That's the optional. That's what I was telling. So if you're doing admin, you can directly attempt the admin exam.
All right.
Okay, we're back here. Do we have that access here? Not in this one. Let me just look for that link. Okay, we have access here, creating a storage blob storage. So again, if you want to follow along with me, you can do that. So we are logging into the portal again, and we are going to create resources and then the storage. So we can go here. Okay, let me change my account.
In AWS also we call as S3 bucket only.
In AWS, it is called S3 bucket. The storage account what you're creating in Azure, it's called S3 bucket. It's just a naming convention difference, but if you compare the services, they also provide the similar services on AWS.
Okay. So all
There's
type of data we can store there, like video, images, everything.
anything what you store on your local storage, on your server, or on your PC, all kind of
Okay.
data you can store there.
Okay.
I'm taking a break here. There's a call to prayer. I'll continue
Okay.
after that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's continue with our exercise quickly, and we'll break at 12:15. So I'm back here in the exercise. So we are going to create a resource, and it's going to be storage. So I go to all resources. In all resources, we can see storage. We can search for it. For example, if we put it here, working. Or we can go from here. We can create a resource. taking really long time. I hope Azure services are not out of service again. There was a recent incident. It's the same for you guys. Can you try creating the resource along with me?
Yes.
Is it taking time to load the resources, or it's just me is having this problem? I see particularly my machine is very slow. Let me
Can I
change.
share?
Yeah, share it.
I got error actually. I thought to tell you, but I don't want to interrupt
What
actually.
is that?
I got this error.
No, too
I
many
don't know
errors.
what is.
What happened? Something
I
wrong.
don't.
Okay. Now, you want to run this exercise, or you
So
got
actually,
already
I
got
tried to create the.
no, you got
I
too
was
many
stuck
errors
there
already.
only.
Yeah, so you might get stuck with this exercise as well. Let me do it myself. I got the screen
Sure,
back.
sure.
So we can go through the errors after the session. One to one, you can check what is happening. So I'm here to create the storage account. I'm selecting the storage account, and now here I have an option to create. Come on, it's too slow today. Okay. So here, if you see, there's an option to create the storage. Let me bring this out. On the basics tab, create a storage account blade. So here in the basics, we are in the basics tab. And again, as I told you, whenever you create any resource, Azure resource, you have to make sure that you're selecting the proper subscription. If it is an enterprise network, you have a huge Azure landscape, you will be having more than one subscription. Well, you might be having one for development, testing, and production. So you have to make sure that you select the right subscription and then right resource group, the correct resource group. In this exercise, we are going to use our resource group, which we created for this exercise. So I'm going back here. So subscription, yes, you select the subscription resource group, the one which we created in our previous exercise, storage account name, and this has to be unique, as I told you. So the name which I give here, let's say my storage will be very common. I'll give some random number after this, 8019, for example. Okay, that's a unique name. So this has to be unique throughout your internet. No one should be using this name. And Azure does a quick check on that and gives you the error if it is already in use. So I didn't get any error. Region, I'm going to leave it default. It's going to West US by default. Performance, I'm going to keep it on standard for now. These options we have not discussed, and it's not part of the fundamentals for now to discuss. And then redundancy. As I told you, you have multiple levels of redundancy. We are going to go with LRS, which is locally redundant storage. Okay. And then with that, we are going next to the advanced tab. We go next, and this is the advanced tab. And in the advanced tab, you're going to do allow enabling anonymous access on individual containers. So this is checked. You will know what exactly we're doing, what this means when it comes to your implementation part in the admin series. So I'm here allowing anonymous access. That means my storage will be accessible over internet for everyone. For everyone, anonymous means anyone can access my storage, right? So that's what I've done here, and making sure TLS version is 1.2. It's default. Rest everything is default. You're going to review and validate and then create. This will create your storage account. Review and create. The validation is in the progress. Little long exercise. Okay, we should be able to complete it. Okay, validation should pass. Let's create it. And once it is created, like I told you, on a single storage account, you can create different storage services. And we are creating a blob storage service here, which is a common storage type which we use for storing our data, files and folders, whatever type of file you're storing. And this we can do only after the storage is created. You can see the progress here, deployment in progress. So you can see here while it is creating the storage account, what parameters you have selected. Okay, this resource is created. I go to the storage, my storage, this is my storage. And then I'm going to go to containers. So I go down, data storage containers. You can see here, you can create a container, a blob container. You can create a file share, like a regular file share on your file server. You can create queues, storage service, which is utilized in application architecture, and tables as well, which are used for application NoSQL data structure. So we are just simply creating a blob container here. I'm clicking on click container. And here we are providing a name again, enter name of the container. Now this name can be anything. You can give, this is not, doesn't have to be unique. I'll say let's see what name it is giving. Enter the name of the container. It doesn't say any name, so we can create any name here. So my file share, that's it. Okay, that's the name I've given. And private, no anonymous access. It's going to be private. I'm not giving access to everyone. So there are many options. We'll just go by the exercise for now. Click create. Okay, so we're creating this blob storage. Now, step 4, back in the Azure portal, select the container you created. Then select upload. Okay, once it is created, I'll select my container. And here I can upload my files from my machine. I can store anything here from my own machine. Let's say I'm putting one of the file in here. One of it. Upload. Okay, browse image file. You can upload any file in here. The file you uploaded, you should be able to see the properties of it. Copy the URL. Okay, this file you can access from the internet. Now, once the file is uploaded, you can go to the properties of this file. And you can see that it has a URL that makes this file accessible over the internet. If you want to view this file, it's a PDF file, right? But you get an error here. And there has to be a reason for that. We'll go back to the exercise. Where's that exercise? It's here. And you get the error that the file is not accessible. It's not, it does not exist. Change the access level on your blob. So now what we're going to do is while creating the blob container, we selected the option private. That means it will not be accessible over the internet. And of course, so when you're creating your storage account, you don't make it available to everyone on the internet unless there is a specific use case and with different security controls. Now here for just this lab, what I'm going to do is I'm changing the access level. So in Azure portal, select the change again in the portal here. In the container, where is it? Close this. So here you can change the access level from private. What are we changing it to? We are changing it to blob. Anyone read access for this blob. So I'm changing it to anyone read access. Okay, once I do that, select OK, refresh, and that's it. And you should be able to see here the file content, right? So that's my Azure storage. I have created a storage account, blob container, and I uploaded my file. And I'm able to access that file over the internet. I hope this is clear. This lab concludes here, and we'll catch up after a break around 12:45. All right, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.